Welcome to FedScoop TV. I'm Wyatt Cash, and we're here today at the IT Modernization Summit. And joining me is Raj Ananthanpillai.
Yep.
Raj is the CEO and President for InfoZen. Thanks for stopping by and joining us.
I enjoy doing this.
Great.
Thank you.
So today we're looking at the issues confronting government and the need for IT modernization. You interact with a lot of these agencies and appreciate their technology issues. Tell us some of the challenges you see they're still facing to modernize their IT.
See, people think IT modernization is something that's up in a pedestal and you have to go fetch it. It has to become part of your culture, right? Modernization is, gone out those days when you had like 15-year modernization programs. If you remember the FAA modernization, there's no such thing as 15 years. Technology changes every year or every 6 months or every month these days. So you have to be very nimble on your feet, which is agile, right? And this new concept of DevOps, which is mashing up with the development folks, with testing folks, with the operations folks together, working as a team and do that. So this is great. People do, hey, I'm going to do modernize, I'm going to be DevOps or agile. But then guess what? The back-end processes within the agencies are still stuck in 1930s. It is still the industrial age process. They're not up to this new age process because they think this is an agile project and they let it go. That will never ever work. Think about some of these, without saying anything bad about anybody, some of the large corporations, right? They are an extension of the government. So if a customer wants a quick change, what's the process? Oh, it's a change order. It takes 10 days to go up and down their food chain within their enterprise by the time they get approval. That's not how this works. We got to have a fundamental shift in our thinking these days, which is, come on, let's get to it. Let's show results. It doesn't have to be Big Bang Theory, small increments of success stories.
Well, recognizing that's kind of the situation many agencies face, and their CIOs in particular, what are some of the things that CIOs can do to better enable their teams, at least to try to make progress in IT transformation?
So what they need to do is permeate this across the organization, up, down, left, and up, right? So everything has to be ingrained in every part of the organization. It is just not after the fact. Okay, that team is agile team, this is my regular team. It can never be. Everybody has to be agile, everybody has to be the same kind of notion. So they need to hire people in key management positions that have been those kinds of programmers or those kinds of DevOps engineers or cybersecurity people and say, hey guys, let's get going. That is very important. So the CIO cannot delegate this. It is not just a grassroots movement. It is a top-down and a bottom-up approach. So everybody has to be in it. So accountability is important because you can say, as I was talking to somebody earlier today, it's the difference between building a product right versus the right product. Product right is what the traditional modernization programs go. They have a rigorous process. They go through every step and they build a square wheel at the end of the process. That is building the product right. Yep, you followed everything because the technology changed along the way. Whereas building the right product is you still have the process, but they are hyper agile, and more importantly, they are adaptive as you go along. Make some changes because the technology just changed yesterday. I need to incorporate that. And then you come up with a perfectly circular wheel.
Well, realizing what a big task this is for agencies and government, they have to kind of start somewhere. What specific systems do you feel are more ripe to move forward with IT transformation?
Just to give an example, for one of the major agencies, we moved about 65 different applications, including websites and applications, onto the cloud in 13 weeks. We saved them 40% operations cost in the first 6 months. Okay, so take some of these low-hanging fruit because I know there's inertia amongst the staff, inertia among the people. Let's take some simple stuff and put them on the cloud or put them somewhere as part of the modernization effort and see how things are going. And that way there's a momentum that is building and everybody is going to be part of that. Anybody not part of that, they're going to be left out and left behind. So it's that momentum you have to create. You cannot dedicate this, oh, that's the modernization team or that's an agile team. It has to be ingrained within the entire organization.
And speaking of the organization and culture and workforce, which are some of the issues that aren't exactly technical, but are a factor in IT modernization. So how do agencies move forward to adjust their cultures and workforces to get on this track?
So what they need to do is hire the right talent. Unfortunately, within the federal government, we have some constraints, right? Because they are working with the taxpayers' dollars. But I always, as a CEO of a company, we always wear two hats, as a taxpayer hat and a business hat. But we always make sure both of them are never ever contradictory, in the sense that every time you look at a problem, how can we do it the least cost possible? Because we are spending taxpayers' dollars. So it is very important that we do the same thing for every program. And all the government agencies and government CIOs need to do that. So they have to hire people that can understand some of these things, and they have to permeate this across the organization, inform their boss. I think the previous speaker in the thing, they said, inform the boss. They like to know about some of these things, so we can get it done right.
And lastly, let's talk a little about cybersecurity and how you see that dovetailing into IT modernization.
Well, IT security or cybersecurity, whatever you want to call that, it has to be part of the DNA of any organization going forward. It is not a separate department. I was one of those guys early on in the late 80s and mid 90s when the Malcolm Baldrige Award or whatever it was for quality control. I was vehemently against that. The moment you make that as a separate organization, people think that's a quality department. That's why sometimes some of the manufacturing, in the car manufacturing, there was a big problem. There is a separate QC department that was actually doing it, right? It has to be ingrained into the entire supply chain. So once you have that, you may just do a checkup towards the end before shipping the product. Otherwise, it has been built with quality in mind. Exactly the same thing with security. Now, the problem with cybersecurity is everybody's running to buy the latest tools and gadgets to deploy it within their enterprise. What happens is a person spends only a third of their time inside the enterprise. 2/3 of their time is spent outside the enterprise. You have no idea what that person is about doing. So it is important to understand their outside relevant activities. Yes. If there's a criminal record or arrest record or something, they are supposed to self-report. Very rarely that happens. So as an employer, you need to know some of those things, including some of the famous cases within the federal government. If they only had a quick check as opposed to the 5-year routine reinvestigation of security clearances and so on. But if they had a continuous risk monitoring, they would have known some of these flags, and then they could have revoked those security clearances. Same thing, if you know some of those things, you can mitigate some of those insider threats.
Well, Raj, I really appreciate you taking some time to share some of your insights. I think you make some really valid points, and appreciate your efforts to help the government and industry work together to improve IT modernization. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm Wyatt Cash with FedScoop TV. Thanks for watching.